Hello, my awesome 5th grade artist. Today we're going to be creating these colorful abstract jelly prints. So all of that may be stuff you've never heard of, but I'm going to tell you about it. So we have talked some about abstract art before, and abstract art doesn't have to look like anything. It can look like something but be very different than how it looks in real life, or it could just be shapes and lines and color, and that's what this is. So a jelly print is a type of print that is done on something called a jelly plate. This is a jelly plate. It's real floppy. I think that's where it gets its name, jelly plate. So a print is when you take something like a plate, like this is a jelly plate. You could take a piece of wood. You could take a piece of linoleum. You put an image on it by either carving, or on this one you'll see we're going to be layering stencils and mask and paint, and you put it on there, and then you put a piece of paper on top of it after you have put your ink or paint on it, and that image will transfer to the piece of paper. So this is a way of creating mono prints using jelly prints. That means there's one unique print for every time that you place the paper on. So I'm going to sit this over here, and we're going to talk a little bit about our artist for this. So our artist is Henri Matisse, and he was a famous artist from France. So when you look at his name, it may look like Henry to you, Henry with an I, that's his name, but in France we pronounce that Henri. And he was very famous for painting. That was his main thing. He did other things like sculpting and printmaking. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what he did later in life. But before you start this lesson, teachers, let the students watch the YouTube video Read Aloud, Henri's Scissors by Jeanette Winter. Show you a little bit more about Matisse. But like I said, he really loved to paint, but as he got older, he became sick, and he had to be in bed all of the time, and he couldn't paint. So he started cutting his images with scissors, and he would use all these different beautiful colored paper, and he would just cut shapes out, and he called it painting with scissors. So all of this are cutouts that he has layered on and glued together. It's a collage. And so it's abstract. He used just shapes, but it's a beautiful design. He liked bright colors. This is another one of his. And you see here is where he signed it. 1951 is when he made that. But he uses these different shapes to create this abstract design, and that's sort of what we're going to be doing to create our jelly print. So there are lots of steps involved in this. I'm going to help you break it down. So there's going to be times where we're printing and we just have one person printing at a time, and the other part of the class will be watching videos, okay? So the first thing, though, that everybody can start with doing is making a stencil and a mask. So I'm going to go ahead and have some pre-made ones. This is one that I have pre-made. So students get to use a pre-made one, but I also want them using one that they make so they can cut some paper like Matisse would. So this one, this is called a stencil. So you see, this is the image. It's just been taken out. And if I were to put this down and paint in here and then lift it up, you would see that leaf shape. This is called a mask. If I put this on the paper and I paint over it and all around it and lift it up, you would see the leaf shape on the outside. So this is our mask and this is our stencil, and you will use both of those, and you will also have some pre-made ones. But everybody is going to make one. So everybody is going to get a piece of this cardstock paper that is cut in half. It's a smaller piece. And you are going to use a pair of scissors and just go in and cut out whatever shape you want. I'm going to do a spiral. Now, it needs to be something that you kind of put a little thought into. So here's my spiral. And I'm just kind of going around like you would a spiral. Okay. Then I've got to come back and cut out around it. So I can have one that, see, I'm cutting on the inside of it. Now this one's a little more complicated. I'll show you something a little less complicated in a minute. But I've got to cut part of it out. And this is going to be my mask. I need to cut out a little bit more in here so that shows up. Okay, so there is a spiral. Let me move this. They're all getting tangled up, and that's what happens. So you see there I have a stencil of a spiral, and here I have a mask of a spiral. Everybody's just doing one, but I'm going to show you something else. If you wanted something a little more basic, you could just come in and do like a zigzag. This is painting like Matisse. I'm just cutting with my scissors. And I'm just making kind of a funky, zigzaggy shape. So there is my mask, and there is my stencil, okay? So everybody is going to create one of those, and you can have a Ziploc bag to put your particular mask and stencil in to use later. So everybody as a class can do that at one time, and I'll send some extras of these because I know we may have some mess ups, and you may want to try again until you get your mask and stencil how you like it. Okay, so then when it's time to print, teachers, you will have a center set up somewhere in your classroom, and you will let the other students watch an Art for Kids Hub video. You could give them all a piece of drawing paper and make it be one that's a little more intense, a video that's a little harder, and that's something they could come back to every week while you pull students to print. But set up at the back, you are going to, teachers, you can go ahead and pre-do this part. This will be the template, and more than one student can use it before it will get kind of dirty, and then you'll have to switch it out. I'm going to send multiples of this, and you are just going to use your painter tape and tape it down on all 4 sides. So I've got a roll of painter's tape. I just kind of measure it out and tape it down. I'm going to kind of go along step by step on here with you. And one more. This will help the students know where to place their plate, so it will be right in the center of the paper every time. Now okay, now I have it. All right, and the next thing is students are going to be making 2 prints, and they get to choose which one they like best. They're going to make their first print, and then they're going to make something called a ghost print. So what we're going to do is we're going to line up our paper. You're going to take a piece of cardstock and line it up right on the edges, if you can kind of see where they are, that paper. And we're going to put a strip of paint here. We're creating a hinge. Teachers, you can prep this by doing this. Don't go all the way to the edge, though. Just kind of make it about this far. That way it'll flip. It won't flip if you go farther than that. So now it flips. And when we press it back down each time, we're not moving it around. Then we're going to do the same thing on this side. So you're going to put your paper down, line it up. And get your painter tape. Oops. Kind of tore. Let me stick that off. Not all the way to the edges this time. Like this. And then you've got another hinge. Okay, so you can go back and forth. Then the students will, or you will, place the jelly plate on that template. Try to line it up as best you can. It's kind of, once it hits the paper, it kind of gets sticky, so you may have to work with it a little bit, and there's going to be your plate. Okay, so now we're going to start printing. So we're only using 3 colors. These are acrylics. These are called open acrylics. That means they take longer to dry, and we're only using 3 colors. So you're going to put this out for the students because it could get really messy, and all you need to do is a chocolate chip size amount every time. So the students can decide what colors they want to start with, but you just start with 1 color, and you also have to think about how colors are going to mix. So the blue and this magenta color, they would mix and make a pretty blue-violet color. The blue and the yellow would make a green. The Magenta and the yellow, they make more of a brown when they get mixed together. So you need to keep that in mind. And so you have to kind of think about that when you're doing these colors. All right, so I think I'm going to start with yellow. So teachers, it's really important that these paints don't get tons of color here or that'll make it hard to close it. So I'm just going to come in and I'm going to put a chocolate chip size amount. And then I drag it off and it makes that end clear, and then I immediately put the cap on. You do that part because these are kind of pricey and we don't want them to, the tubes to get messed up. All right, then the students are going to get something. This is called a brayer. It's for rolling. And you just let them roll. Try to stay just on the print, on the plate. And you roll in different directions till it gets good and covered. Sometimes your roller might pop off and hit the paper, and that's okay. You just, when you print, you just want to press on the plate part. You'll see what I'm talking about in a minute. So you just want to go in different directions. When you sit this down, sit it on the back. There's a little ledge, and then it won't get your table dirty. See how I'm just going to sit that there? Now, it's time to start placing some stencils in mass. So I have the ones I made, and then I have the pre-made one. So I think I'm going to put this stencil. I'm going to take and put a spiral here. It can hang off a little bit. Once you've placed it, you can't move it. It sticks to the paint. And then I'm going to put this one. I really like using these. Well, I think I'm going to use the stencil for this. Here. And that's a lot of yellow in there, so I may come in. And I may just, I think I'm just going to do that for this first one. Okay, so I've left it like that. It's just hard to decide sometimes. Now on this side, first I'm going to go in and I'm going to press and I kind of rub with my hand. And I'm only rubbing on the plate where I can feel that plate. If you rub all around here and you get paint, it's going to put paint on your paper like that. So I'm rubbing, rubbing, rubbing. And then I'm going to peel it back and see what happened. Okay, so see, that's just our first layer, so we're going to build up layers. Then I'm going to peel these off, and it puts paint on it. So when I sit this down, I'm going to sit it paint facing up so I can reuse them. Sit it with the paint facing up. So I've sat it like, you can't see off camera, but I've just sat it like that. Then we're going to print a ghost print from that. And it's going to look a little different, and it helps clean our plate. It helps get all that extra paint off of our plate. Okay, see, that's pretty cool. Oh, I'm going to have to zoom out some more. Okay, so see how that's pretty cool like that. Let's see. Let me slide this way. Okay. Now, the plate is pretty clean. There may be a little bit of yellow left, but I'm going to use blue, and I know it'll mix well, so I'm not going to do anything. You can always take a baby wipe in between, blot it, and then dry it with a paper towel if you want to. So now I'm going to come in with some blue, a chocolate chip size amount, drag it off, kind of one of the bigger chocolate chips. Drag it off so that you're not getting a lot of paint everywhere. Then you can either switch brayers or you can use the same brayer. I know that yellow and blue make green, and I want green, so I'm going to leave this yellow. Or you've got extra brayers, you could do that. So remember, you start rolling. Isn't that pretty? And you have to roll in different directions to make sure you get the paint all over. And this is kind of making like a streaky blue and green, and I think it's really pretty. So the more you roll, the more it blends together. But you do want to make sure you get your plate good and covered. Sit this with the side down. And then I'm going to do some more masking and stenciling. This time, I'm going to get this spiral that I made with a stencil. And I'm just going to put that there. It blocked off a lot. And I'm going to do this. Peel it back, and you see that there. I'm going to peel this off and sit it up, and then I'm going to do my ghost print. And you just are going to do this several times until you get it how you like it. Oh, and I really like that. That's really looking pretty. Okay, now I'm going to come in and I'm going to go again with some blue. And it's going to be probably, because I think I'm going to use a different brayer, so I won't have any green on it. And I'm just going to go blue, all the way blue. Teachers, you're going to have to let the students do this like 3 or 4 layers to get it how they feel like it's finished. Okay, sit it face up. And again, I'm going to use this. I haven't used this one yet, actually. And I may come in and use this. And I want to show you something. Another thing you can do that's really neat, you can take a pencil where the eraser is, and you can put some dots. And once it gets a lot of blue, you can just blue paint on it. You can wipe it off. But I kind of think this is going to look neat. It needs something a little extra on it. You could also lightly make some lines. Lightly. We're not pressing on that. We're just making some lines. Then I'm going to print that. Oh, look, that's looking really neat. Then I'm going to take these up. I'm going to sit these face up. And I'm going to print my ghost print. Ooh, I really like that one. All right, the last thing I do, I've got blue, and I know that blue and magenta are going to make like a pretty blue violet. So now I'm going to add this. And it's going to make some brown places on my paper, but that's okay. You just have to understand that that's going to happen. I'm going to take a different brayer. And teachers, you can have it where, I'm going to send you enough brayers if you want to have them with different colors so that you can just let the kids choose which brayer they want to use. Not a pretty color. If you go back, I'm going to show you now about repeating some of the masking stencils. I'm going to go back and use this one that I used in the beginning. So I turn it with the paint side down, because if I didn't, what would happen? It would print this on there. So always turn it paint side down like that. And then I think I'm going to come in again with my pencil. I'm kind of taking that over and wiping some of that off. And I really like the dots. So I'm going to come in with some more dots here on my leaf. It has a little blue, but that's okay. It's going to be like a polka dotted leaf. Because when it makes those little images on there, it's going to print. You may have other things, teachers, in your classroom that you want to use to create texture on here. And that's fun too. All right, and then I'm just going to do it over and print, and this is going to be my last one, I think. Okay. Pull it back. Oh, I love that. Look how it made the rainbow on there. That's beautiful. I'm going to peel this up, sit it with the paint face side up, and then I'm going to print my ghost print. And then what you're going to have, boys and girls, is and that's really pretty too. I really like that. So we did 4 different layers, and you're going to have 2 prints to choose from. So you can pick your most favorite and send to me for Artsonia, and you can keep your other one and take it home, or your teacher may want to hang it in the hallway. But I just love both of these. It's hard to decide. So teachers, practice this a little bit before you start. I know we did have a workshop on this, and so you'll kind of be familiar with it. But practice a little bit, kind of get familiar with how it all works, and I cannot wait to see how creative and fun these are going to be, and I will see you next time. Bye.